Thank you. You heard my story. I started with the Sesame Street characters and just kept drawing and never stopped. I love to draw. I studied painting in college. I went to Governor State in University Park. I learned a lot about painting. I didn't learn a whole lot about business. So I started in just selling my paintings, going to festivals. And one of the first festivals I went to, I had my artwork for sale, and everybody loved it. Nobody bought it, but it was nice to get the compliments.
That happens.
And just out of sheer boredom, I started drawing people. And I started with kids. There was a ton of kids around, so I got my sketchbook out and just started drawing. I drew about 20 kids that first day. So I, being the shrewd businessman that I am, thought maybe this is something. I got like $4 in tips. So I mean, that at least was a start. So not long after that, I was asked to do a private party, and it just went on from there. That's what I do now. I go to private parties, and I like to say I sit and draw complete strangers, make fun of them, get paid for it. I also have, actually it's kind of cool to be here, I've started teaching workshops in libraries. So I go around to different libraries and lead drawing workshop for kids. And just recently I started doing more of a performance. So I have art and magic that I combine together, and I do that at libraries and schools. So I've got some contact information I'd love to get in your hands if you know any kids. I also have a special treat for you, a special artist tool. I won't tell you any more about that now, but make sure you take that with you before we go. So that's a little bit about me. If you feel free to doodle while I'm talking. I'm always drawing, and if it helps you to draw, go for it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain any questions. Why I think this is going to benefit you. Now, if I can just see a show of hands, how many painters do we have in the room? All right, just about everybody. More of an art, just drawing. Okay. Performance, dance. Okay, good. Music?
Yeah, music.
Music, okay. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, photography.
Photography, oh my. Don't mess with the photographers. I've learned that already. Photographers, we accept you here. And actually, I would say any art form where you need to be able to look something, assess it, make decisions, emphasize certain aspects of the art, this is going to help you out. I hope you have fun drawing tonight. I hope if you've never done caricatures before, you've got a new hobby, I hope. But if your thing is painting or just drawing, this is going to help you. And even photographers, don't just look at something. They have to assess, what am I going to emphasize? What am I drawing attention to? And that's what caricature is. We're not doing... I have blank paper too if you guys want to sketch. Just let me know. I have pencils. Just let's do it. Have some fun. If you can, the main thing that if you can walk away with tonight, caricature is about your thought process. So my goal is in less than an hour to try to teach you what that thought process is. And if you understand it, you're well on your way. I would say it's probably 90% of drawing caricature is just understanding what to look for. So that's the goal tonight, to present you with that. I'm going to give you a definition that I got from the dictionary on caricature. Let's see. A picture, description, or imitation of a person in which certain striking characteristics are exaggerated in order to create a comic or grotesque effect. We'll focus more on the comic aspect of it tonight. How I would define it. A caricature is a cartoon portrait that emphasizes the unique features of a person's face and personality. If a caricature is done correctly, it will look more like the person than the person looks like the person. Another way to think of a caricature is a portrait with the volume all the way turned up. It captures more of the person than just what you're looking at. When I draw a caricature, my goal is to playfully capture the essence of a person's face and personality in an entertaining way. So if they walk away crying, I don't feel so good about it. Now, that's not to say I haven't offended people, but it comes with the business. There are 3 elements of a caricature. And I got them right here on the board for you. Recognizability. Now, you can see a caricature that might be really exaggerated and almost like it's just made out of silly putty and stretched and squished. And that's fun. But if you look at the drawing and you don't know who it is, then we miss something. So you want to be able to identify who it is that you're drawing. Second is exaggeration. Caricatures give you a unique ability to really pinpoint a person's face. It's a way of, I like to think of everybody's face as a code. And you as the artist have to crack that code. You have to figure out what's important about the face, what's not as important. What am I going to enlarge? What am I going to shrink, stretch, squash, all those things. Third, a caricature is a statement. So we're not just recording information, we're making a statement. It's kind of like a political cartoon. When you look at a political cartoon, it's pretty clear what the artist or the writer is saying. They're not just reporting the facts. The facts will probably be in there somewhere, but it's going to have their spin on it. It's going to have their angle. This is my opinion of the situation. And that's kind of what a caricature is. This is the artist's observation of who you are. So we're making a statement. If I'm at a party and I always try to get the person to smile or to laugh, and some people, you may have found this out, don't like to smile or laugh for that matter. I don't force it I don't go beyond that point because I want it to be that person. If that person doesn't want to smile, then a drawing of them smiling isn't going to look like them. If I sit down and I ask them, how are you tonight? And they go into their history and tell me everything from their childhood and keep talking the whole time, I'll draw them with their mouth open because it seems appropriate. And often when I do that, their friends will look at it and say, that is Bill, because his mouth is always open. We're trying to capture the personality. So these are the 3 elements of caricature. Let's talk about what a caricature is not. I brought some of my props tonight. A caricature is not a lollipop. Some people will say, oh, I know what a caricature is. That's a real big head on a small body. That's not a caricature. That's called a large head on a small body. But there's no emphasis, there's no statement, there's not really exaggeration unless you want to consider the large head exaggeration, but I think we can do better than that. The second thing that caricature is not is Mr. Potato Head. Now, Mr. Potato Head is actually a lot of fun. I had Mr. Potato Head as a kid. All kinds of cool features you can pull off. And now look, he doesn't have a mustache. Now he does. Now he's bald. Sometimes when people start with caricature, they have one face that they draw, and if they're drawing someone with glasses, they'll put glasses on it. If it's a bald, they'll leave the head bald. If there's earrings, they'll put earrings, but the face is always the exact same. There's one face that I do, and I decorate it different. That's not a caricature. Maybe a likeness, but not really a caricature. We can do better than that. We're going to look beyond just what you see. We're going to look at muscle structure. We're going to look at fat on the face. We're going to look at bone. This is where anatomy really comes in handy. If you can think of the bone skull structure underneath, it's going to help you out. Okay, so that's a second thing it's not. Third thing, caricature is not a portrait. So we talked again about a political cartoon. A portrait is a closer representation of what the person looks like. A caricature goes through a filter and says, no, we're going to change some things around here. As the artist, you have that privilege. You're going to make some changes. So it's not a portrait, but even in portraits, you make decisions. You say, I think I'm going to smooth out that cheekbone, or I'm going to make it more the jawline more rugged. As an artist, that's the beauty we have. We get to make those choices, even more so as a caricature artist. You get to make those decisions. All right, let's talk about what a caricature is. And the first thing I'll say is the theory of relativity. Now, this is not the best example because if you know the theory of relativity, it's more about space and time and distance and science kind of stuff. When I talk about relativity, it's all about comparison. Okay, so let me ask you this question. This circle here, is it large or is it small? Is it large or is it small? What do you think? You guys are sharp. I have to fish this out sometimes. It takes 10 minutes to say, ask me a question, and compared to what is the right question? Compared to this circle, it's large. Compared to this one, small. Really small. But now this one is small compared to this one. This is the key to caricature. It's all about comparison. If you can learn to compare, and this is where really learning to decide what you're seeing and making decisions, that's what caricature is all about. Making those decisions based on what you see and comparison. We're going to talk more about comparison in a moment. Let me give you another example of what caricature is like. All right, it's like budgeting. It's like budgeting your day. If you have a certain amount of time to work with, it's like budgeting money. So if you have $500 for the week, let's say, and you go shopping on day one and you spend $300 on groceries, you now have how many dollars left for the rest of the week? 200. We got the math people in the back, I see.
No, trust me.
We're not the U.S. Congress. There's no credit cards here. We're just dealing with this. So if I spend this, it's gone. Now I have this to work with. If I spend this first, I only have this left. When you're doing a caricature, you have to budget. So if I'm going to look at somebody's face and I see a large forehead, now I've given that drawing maybe 80%. So how much left do I have to work with? If I've spent 80, what do I have left? All your math people. See, the problem is I see a big forehead and then I'm like, oh, look, it's a big nose too, and a big jaw, and big ears, and big eyes. What did I just do? I just drew a big face. I'm using credit. I don't have credit. I have cash. So if I spent 80, now I've got 20 to work with. I can maybe put 10 here, maybe 10 here. But see, I kind of squished everything up to the forehead because I'm emphasizing the forehead. And that's the way it works. If I want a big jaw, well then I'm going to spend real estate here, spend money on this, then it's going to have a smaller upper half because we want to emphasize the jaw. It's the same with painting. If you want a yellow or a white to stand out, what do you surround it with? Darks. That's how it pops out. If you want darks to stand out, what do you surround it with? Lights. That contrast is a beautiful thing. And that's the same with caricature. You want to have some nice contrast. You'll even like to have some contrast if you're drawing a couple, because you might have one of the subjects has got a very long neck, and maybe one is shorter. That's a beautiful contrast to have in a drawing. The contrast is what makes it interesting. Everybody looking the same, that would be like a song with the same note the whole time. It'd be kind of boring. So it's that contrast that makes it interesting. Let's see. Caricature is also like playing with Jell-O. And we kind of talked about this before. If I have a stack of Jell-O, if it was possible, if this was Jell-O here, and I would have pushed down on it, what would happen to the sides? It would bulge out. We get the privilege to free our minds to say, you know, I'm gonna make it a long face. Well, that means it goes narrow. Or if I'm going to squish the face down, it's going to bulge out on the sides. We're not confined to just the proportions of the face. So we can have a lot of fun with that. So any questions so far? All right. I have a friend that I brought with me that I can't wait to introduce you. He's got an amazing face and an amazing personality. Let me bring him out. And there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome my friend and yours, Norm? Just one? Norm. Thank you. So this is Norm, and maybe I did lie about the exciting face and the personality as well. He just kind of sits there. He looks confident enough. He just kind of but his name is Norm, and some of you have already figured it out. Norm stands for normal. Norm has what you might call the perfect face. There's nothing that really stands out about Norm. Now, if Norm was a girl, his name would be Norma. You guys are sharp. So this is Norm. And the plastic surgeons will tell you that there is the perfect face. And they use that by the golden ratio, if you're familiar with that. We're bringing more math into the conversation. But they have figured out a formula for the perfect face. I actually printed it up if you want to come see it after the program. But it's pretty interesting. And it's got all the planes of the face where you can see where everything's proportioned. And it uses the golden ratio. So the golden ratio is like 1 to 1.68, whatever. It's like 1.5, basically. So if the mouth is, if the nose, I should say, the width is 1, the ratio to the mouth is 1.6, now you're in line with the perfect face. The same is true for the eyebrows, 1.6 versus 1 for the width of the eyes. Everything's totally proportioned. Good news for you and me, not many people look like this. So that makes our job of caricature so much easy. You want to get well acquainted with Norm. He doesn't talk much, so you got that going. And he just sits there. If you can really understand Norm's face, that is the foundation for drawing caricatures. We had the circles earlier. And if I were to say that this is the new standard, so this is Norm. Say hi, Norm.
Hi, Norm.
This is the new standard. This circle is now smaller or bigger than Norm? Bigger. You guys are good. So bigger, if I was doing a portrait, would be maybe twice the size. A caricature means the circle's now this big. The same is true for smaller. This is the standard. This circle now becomes very hard to see because we have that ability to expand it and to shrink it. Norm is our new standard. So the next time you're looking at someone's face and you're trying to draw them, you're thinking about norm and you're making comparisons. So if Norm's ears just kind of go back and the person you're looking at has ears that go out, in the drawing, they don't just go out, they go out. If the nose is a little bit bigger than Norm's, then the nose becomes huge. Why? Because we're trying to offend people? No, because we're trying to capture what they look like. That's not the only thing we compare. We compare with Norm, but we also make comparisons to the face. So if the nose is small and closer to the eyes just got bigger. And the eyes are not going to be tight together, they're going to spread out. If the nose is going to be pulled down, then the eyes are going to grow smaller and together. So we're not just comparing to Norm, we're comparing to different features on the face. Again, I haven't even started drawing yet, but this is the key to drawing caricature. It's learning to make these decisions and comparing. So that's Norm, and continue to look at Norm through the night and just kind of size them up and kind of compare them to whoever it is we're drawing. So let's talk about facial proportions. Now, I was told that you guys are all artists, so I'm not allowed to go over the proportions. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway because it is foundational to drawing caricatures. And if nothing else, it should be a nice refresher. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. And I did bring some handouts with me, too, that will walk you through this. So if you don't catch everything, it's okay. But we're going to start with a blank sheet of paper. And I'm going to fill about the top half of it with a circle. Nice and light. I always encourage draw lightly. You can always press harder as you go. We're going to draw an egg shape because that's about the shape of the face. And then we're going to put a little bit of angle in it. When I was in high school, I drew a lot of people I knew. They didn't really look like the people that I was trying to draw until I learned this. Once I learned the proportions, they all started looking like the people I was intending to draw. So we're going to go from the top half of the face to the bottom, right in the middle. That's going to be a line for the eyes. From the eye line to the chin line, halfway again, which is usually going to be right at that bottom of the circle, we'll put the nose. Halfway down from the nose to the chin, and then we're going to go up just a little bit. That'll be the mouth. So we'll put the mouth line there. We do want to go right down the middle just so that the face is somewhat symmetrical. The eyes, I'm a little off there, so I'm going to fix that slightly. The eyes are 5 eyes across the face. So we're going to put our ovals there. We're going to go from the eye line to the nose line. That's where we'll put the ears. We'll go from that very center point down a triangle. We'll make the nose, and it's going to be the width of that center eye. We'll go down again for that mouth line, about the same width as the nose. And then for the neck, we'll come out from that mouth line where it intersects with the face. We'll go straight down for the neck, and we'll put some lines at an angle for the shoulder blades. Now that we've laid this out, you can fill it in. You can practice drawing the faces. If we have time later tonight, I know sometimes people like to ask specific questions about different features. How do you draw an eye, or how do you draw a nose? But we'll just fill it in right now with some generic face. I'm not sure who it is. But I just want to demonstrate, once we get those proportions in, then we can just draw. This is a very easy thing to do with 20 years of practice.
Oh, it's me.
All right, so let's give him a curl. There, now he looks like a lollipop kid. But the point of that is just to show you the proportions. It makes life a whole lot easier. And it's hard to break the rules until you know what they are. Now that I know that these are the proportions, now I can start laying out faces like this. Now I know that I'm crossing a line here because I made the top half 80%. And you know, please don't take this too literally. I don't look at a face and go, I think maybe 49, 50, 51% for the forehead, maybe 30. I mean, it's just something that you just kind of make decisions based on the way it feels. But it's just to help us kind of understand the whole idea of budgeting. So those are the proportions. I'm going to suggest that you get yourself a stack of magazines if you'd like to learn more of this. And my brother used to subscribe to this magazine, Entertainment, full of movie stars. And what I like about that is you get right up close. And if you've seen these actors, then you've seen them from different angles. You know, it's kind of hard to draw from photos if you haven't seen them in any other context. But if you've seen them in the movies, it's a good way to practice. And you can just, again, you can have fun. They sit nice and still for you. So that's a tip. I'm going to draw a celebrity now. And we'll see if we can kind of break this down and think about how to do this as a caricature. Does anybody recognize this man?
Yep.
All right, who is this? And he is just begging for us to draw his caricature. You can almost hear him. Go ahead, draw my caricature.
That's right. Make my day.
There you go. Let's make his day. So let's just pretend we don't know who Clint is for a moment. And let's just, as a group, make some observations about Clint. What's the first thing you notice?
High cheekbones.
High cheekbones. Yep, absolutely.
Deep eyes.
Deep eyes. It's like you have to kind of reach back for them. They're kind of like getting swallowed up in his face. Yeah.
His forehead's bigger.
I would even say it's a 5-head. It's so big. Yes. What else? How about his demeanor? Again, we're not just drawing. Again, we don't know who this is. We're just kind of making observations.
He looks like he's trying to see inside you.
He does look like that. Yeah, he's kind of got the very serious. Not the atmosphere's not very light.
And a few words.
Man, a few words.
His face is like a skull because his cheeks go in.
Very, yeah. You can definitely see the pattern of his skull. Good observation.
Angular kind of jaw.
Yeah, very angular jaw. Clint would be one of those people that you go, oh no, I got to limit this somehow. There's too much to work with here. And that can be a problem. What kind of career would you say this man has if you didn't know that he was an actor?
An army general.
Army general, drug dealer, cop, lumberjack. I showed this to a group once, and what's that?
Not wearing enough plaid.
Not wearing enough plaid for the lumberjack part. This girl looked at him and she said, "He looks like he's had a very hard life." But he does. He's got that tough guy look. So all this is, we're thinking about it as we draw. We want to think about it. If while we're drawing him, we might create a little chant. Go ahead, make my day. You know, you want to think about these things. If I was drawing him in person, I usually try to smile to, not be too weird. I'm staring at your face, But I wouldn't with him. I'd just stare at him because it kind of helps me kind of get in the mood. Let's see, what other observations? There was one other. Oh, I think age. I mean, that's always something you want a young guy, older guy, older.
He looks pretty young there.
He does,
The way he looks now.
compared to now, yes. An observation about this point in time, he is older, but I still wouldn't mess with him. You can still see the neck kind of goes down from the ears, and it kind of forms a nice base. It's not, there's nothing skinny there, nothing gaunt. Shoulders are pretty broad. So all this comes into mind. So I'm going to do a quick layout on this board, and then we'll take a little more time. Maybe I'll move that here so I'm not blocking anyone's view.